Hey everyone, and today, after playing it enough, I feel like I've got a good grasp on Season 2.5. So today I'm going to be giving my 2.5 tier list for Marvel Rivals. So, first off, we got Adam Warlock. And I feel like he's pretty good. Sure, whenever you're not that good at aiming, he's pretty bad, but if you can consistently start to get headshots, then you should constantly keep your team alive. Shouldn't have to be worrying about cooldowns a ton. So I think he's going in A tier, especially because StarLord's better this season, and that allows StarLord a second life if you have him and Adam on the same team. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good place for Adam to be at the moment. Still have to get good with him, but that's the case for a lot of heroes. Next up, we have Black Panther, and I feel like I don't know. I think he's still in D tier because while he can be good, there's a lot of counter to him. And there's also a lot of people playing flyers this season, meaning it is going to be really hard to play Black Panther if they have something like Iron Man, Ultron, Storm, Human Torch, or something. Now, granted, I haven't seen a game to where there's actually all four of those heroes on the same team, but I have had games to where there's like three of them. So I feel like Black Panther's just gonna be more difficult to play. Maybe he'll get a buff or something in the near future. That'll help him out a bit. Maybe more damage. Maybe, I don't know. He needs something. Next up, we have Black Widow. And honestly, I don't think Black Widow's as bad because, yet again, with the same reason of Black Panther still being low, is there's a lot of flyers this season. And with that comes with more need for people like Black Widow who can snipe them out of the air. Now, I feel like she's still pretty bad. Only reason she's not going in D or F tier is because of how many flying characters there are. If it wasn't for that, she'd still be low. She got access to a new team up with Punisher, which I think may be better than the old team up with Hawkeye, but, I don't see enough Widows to actually tell, let alone Widows with Punishers. Alright, next up we have Hulk, and I think he continues to be above Adam because of the Gamma Squids. If it wasn't for those, I feel like he wouldn't be that strong, but because of them, I feel like he becomes a real threat, especially if you have someone who can play Neore decently. So, let's see here. Captain America. Now, he did get a slight nerf, but I don't think it was anything huge. I think he's going to go in B tier. He still got good damage. I think his survivability is also still good. The only major change is that once you put your shield down, it now takes quite a lot longer to actually start regenerating health. And I did notice that when playing him earlier, but, I don't think it's going to be a super big nerf. I think it's enough to keep him out of the meta, but I don't know if it does a ton. This could just be me being a bit biased towards him because I main Cap. But, you know, I think he's still pretty good. Next up, we have Cloak Dagger. And I think I might put her in D tier for the Season 2 one. But I think she's going to go in C tier this time because I've actually seen more of her. So, yeah, I still think their healing is not the best compared to pretty much any strategist, but it can still be done good. And while I'm thinking about it, I don't know if Widow deserves to be up that high. Yeah, I think I'll keep her higher than Black Panther. Alright, next up, Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange, I picked him up towards the end of last season because he was fun. And I feel like they have done a great job of buffing him and making him actually strong again. I feel like he goes up here. I think he's a better tank than Hulk. And I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more of him. Okay, next up we have Emma Frost. And honestly, I think Emma still just goes in A for me. Again, I think she's stronger than Hulk. But I don't know. I don't really see a lot of the hype around her being so strong. Sure, she's really strong when used correctly and can shut down dive. But other than that, I don't really see any Emma Frost putting up like a dominant performance. Because maybe that's just like from what I've seen. But I think I've only seen an Emma get MVP maybe once or twice. And I have seen a lot of people playing Emma Frost. So, I think she's going in A tier. Next up, we got Groot. And I really don't know about Groot and how good he is. Because he is the only character on this list that I have not seen a decent amount since the game has updated to 2.5. So, I really don't know how to judge him. His main nerfs make me think he may be put down to A. Maybe above Strange. But this may be a take that I'm willing to take back and make him stronger or weaker as the season goes on. Okay, next we have Hawkeye, and he is going to be our first S tier of the video. I feel like he's got access to a lot better team-ups with the Ice Arrow, and he is just really good. He was really good already, but now with the team-up and a few buffs that they've given him, I feel like, honestly, I think he is the best duelist in the game at the moment. And we'll see how that plays out, but I think I know I said this in the last video, but I think we're really back to season 0 with this one, with some top characters being Strange, Hawkeye, and Hela. And speaking of Hela, she also gets to go to S tier. If you can aim well, you should play Hela. Hela, you point and click on somebody's body, and it does a ton of damage. you can two-shot headshot people that are up to, I think, 325 health. So yeah, really good, especially good now that there are a lot of flying characters that are being played a lot. She can get them out of the sky easily. Alright, next up we have the Human Torch. And I feel like he's not as dominant as he was in Season 2. I think he's still good. I think he puts up a good performance. But I feel like they've more balanced him out as compared to Season 2. I no longer think of him as this major threat. I've actually only seen him in like 3 games, and the people playing him did pretty poorly in all those games. So maybe it's who I've seen playing him, but I think those nerfs did actually harm Torch. Alright, next up we have Invis. And I think she's also going into S tier. I feel like she is the 3rd best healer after Luna and Loki, as it has been since the game has launched. But I think if those two ever get like meaningful nerfs, then Invis is going to take a star spot as one of the best healers. Sure, her damage might not be super crazy, but she can do a lot of healing. Alright, next up we have Iron Fist. And I feel like he is also going into B tier. I don't think he's absolute garbage like he was in 1.5 in Season 1. But I think that like dash distance from his punches actually did nerf his survivability a bit. Because now you have to use your kick to get out. Otherwise, you're not really going to be moving out. Since those were the 2 main ways in Season 2 that he had of getting out of an encounter once he got low were the kick and the fast punches. Because you could dash really far with them. But now with that being nerfed, he only has one real option to get out, which is the kick. So I feel like he takes quite a bit of skill, maybe even more this season to actually use, but I don't think he's fallen off a cliff, which is a good thing. Alright, next up we have Iron Man. And I feel like Iron Man gets to go to the top of B tier. Every tier list, I've been gradually moving him up. It was like D tier in the 1.5 tier list I made. I think it was C tier in the Season 2 tier list I made, and now he's in B tier. For the sole reason of his team up with Ultron. I feel like he's gotten quite a bit more damage because of the damage buffs he got from being the anchor. And playing him with Ultron, which I have seen a lot, especially on like the first 2 days of the season, gives Ultron a really good team up for him to use. So it may be the fact that I've seen him a lot, but I feel like Iron Man is actually going to be better this season. Alright, next one is probably the most interesting thing in the video, minus the new character Ultron, Jeff. For those who don't know, Jeff got a massive rework at the start of Season 2.5. And I feel like it has been a mixed reaction on who likes this and who doesn't. So to lay out the simple parts of the changes, one, his right click or left trigger now has 3 charges and is on a cooldown, meaning you can no longer really just DPS Jeff. They also now deal a bit of knockback, which I feel like is good, but I don't know if it really makes up for his lack of ammo. But to make it to where he can actually do good damage now, they made his primary attack, that water beam, heal and do damage now. Now it's not a lot of damage, but I feel like it can be good if everyone's in a group. And that's like the main thing with Jeff's rework, is that you need people to be grouped up a lot for it to actually be useful. His bubbles are now overtime healing. They do some more healing now, but it's over a longer period of time. And probably the biggest change to how Jeff is played, his hide and seek ability, where he dives into the ground and swims around. He now has an energy gauge on that, like Iron Man's fast flight, that lasts 6 seconds. And I feel like that really nerfs his survivability. It makes him a real backline support, since now he can't easily get away from encounters, and he can't really dive into the enemy backline really easily. But I think with the rework, he's going in C tier. I don't think he's necessarily bad, but I don't know if he's super good either. And maybe as the season goes on, people will learn how to play Jeff as a healer better, but I just don't know if that's the case. Alright, already hinted to these two earlier, and I'm just going to put them at the same point. Loki and Luna get the top tier healing spots. Think I would put them... think I'll arrange it like that. Because one, Luna got buffed this season. Sure, her ultimate takes a bit longer to get, but now she does more healing and more damage. And her freeze ability now grants bonus health when you hit someone with it. Honestly, I'm not sure what the devs have for Luna in particular, but they are just content with making her the best healer in the game. And I feel like this really speaks to sort of the balancing issue with strategists and rivals. Because you'll introduce someone like Ultron, who doesn't have a ton of healing, and his ult also takes a bit of timing to use and isn't that good, and expect him to survive in the same meta as the K-pop star, who can full heal a team in seconds and has an ultimate that makes her team invulnerable for 12 seconds. Longest support ult in the game. And that just makes for a really not friendly zone for new strategists. Like, sure, they could keep adding as many strategists as they want, but none of them are actually going to be super top tier unless they have a long, good ult that basically makes the team invulnerable and can do crazy healing. And this is by no means to say that I think Ultron is bad. I think it's just a balancing issue that the strategist role has, to where these two are especially good because they do good damage good healing, and have good ults. So, next we have magic. And I don't know, I think magic is B tier. I don't really think she is super strong, especially not compared to some other dive characters. But I feel like she's alright. I've played with quite a few magic mains, and all of them are good. But I just never really feel her impact a lot of the time. Alright, next up we have Magneto. And I think Magneto has gone back to being the top tank in the game. I feel like Magneto, he can survive a lot. He got a recent buff that makes his rings recharge faster. Overall, I just think he's a really solid character. The only thing that sucks is that it's pretty boring to play him sometimes. I'm not going to say always, because I've had some fun playing as him, but compared to other Vanguards in the game, like Cap, Emma, Strange, he just has a very basic gameplay loop to where you're just shooting the entire time, sticking up your shield every now and then giving a bubble to whoever needs it. So, honestly, I don't think he's that interesting of a character, but I think he's a good character. Alright, next up we have Mantis. And I think Mantis is a lot better than people give her credit for. I'd still put her below Torch, though. See, the main problem with Mantis is she is a DPS healer, like Ultron and Adam Warlock. Only problem is, she doesn't do as much damage as Ultron, and doesn't do as much healing as Adam. Now, she can still get some decent healing off, but she can't really heal fast unless you can, like Adam, get off continuous headshots. But at that point, just play Adam, because you're going to get more healing with him. I feel like Mantis can still do well, though. We're in a flying hero world at the moment, and she can deal with flyers pretty easily. So, next up we have Mr. Fantastic. And I feel like my opinion on this man changes constantly, because I feel like he was actually pretty bad before Season 2. In Season 2, I'd probably put him like up here in A tier. And then now it feels like he just doesn't do as much. I feel like he's still top of B tier. I feel like they've done a lot better of making him tanky and deal some good damage. But I just don't think he's like a super great duelist. Alright, next up we have Moon Knight. And Moon Knight probably goes towards the top of C tier. Moon Knight is an interesting one because he got buffed in Season 2, but I don't really know how good he truly is. Now, sure, if you're really new to the game, he's great, because you'll be playing people who are new to the game, and people who are new to the game do not know that you can destroy Moon Knight's onks, and just will let them sit there as they just absolutely melt. Now I think Moon Knight can do good as a flanker and making sure that you can sneak up behind someone, quickly place down your Ankh, and deal a lot of damage before you like jump away. But I don't know if he's super good. Alright, next up we have Neore. And I feel like he is at the top of A tier, because he has got a buff this season. And I have no idea why the devs thought it was a good idea. He has a bigger ultimate range. Sure, it does a bit less damage. But what does that really mean whenever you're knocking someone over and just stunning them for a bit? Because if you can get someone knocked over and stunned, and you can get your entire team on that person, then they are going to die in seconds. That, plus the Gamma Squids. I honestly don't know why they refuse to nerf Namor a bit. Like, just a bit. I'm not saying a whole lot, because we need him as a good counter to dive heroes so they don't run rampant. You can always go Hulk Namor, but he doesn't need to be good in situations to where there is no dive. Or not super good, at least. But despite all my wishing that he wasn't, I think he's still top of A tier. Alright, next up we got Penny. And this is a very interesting one. I think last tier list I had her in one of these bottom two. I didn't think she was good. And then they gave her the Rocket team up. See, the Rocket team up single-handedly moved her up at least to the top of C tier, if not into B tier. Because what it does is it gives Penny a second spider nest, which is just insane. Especially if you play with people that don't know to shoot the stinking nests, then two of them is just going to make your life a living hell. I feel like she can be pretty good, but I don't think she's still the best. I think Penny is still the worst Vanguard in the game. Alright, next up we have Psylock. And honestly, I don't know if much has changed since the Season 2 nerfs. Sure, she's a bit less stealthy with getting into the back line and making sure like the supports are dead. But I mean, she still does a lot of damage. She can apply good pressure to tanks. I don't know how much the nerf actually did. I don't really have much beyond that to say about Psylocke. I think she's just good and continues to be one of the best balanced characters in Rivals. Alright, next up we have Rocket. And I think Rocket is probably top of B tier. He does great healing, and he is perfect for anyone who has never played healer before to get on Rocket and hold down left trigger or right click, depending on what platform you play on, and just shooting the orbs and healing an entire team. I feel like he is very good for being such a beginner-friendly character. Like, a lot of these top-tier ones you see up here, these 5 definitely take some skill in getting used to. Invis too a little bit, but a lot less than these 5. Rocket, though, manages to be a good character while needing basically no prior knowledge of the game to play him. Like, you can slap anyone on Rocket and they can end that game with like 20k healing. I think the most skill it takes for his kit is finding a sneaky place to put your revive beacon. Other than that, you don't really gotta worry about it. Next up, we have Scarlet Witch. And did not mean to put her there. I feel like she goes probably bottom of B because of two main reasons. One, Strange is a lot better, meaning that Strange Wanda team up is going to be a lot more prevalent. Two, she is very good against flyers, and flyers are a main staple of 2.5, as I have stated many times in this video. Honestly, I think they need to nerf her range, even if it's just by a bit. 40 meters is ridiculous for being someone who only has to hold left click or right trigger. Again, depending on which platform you play on. So yeah, I feel like you can learn a bit of like combos or something with her. I say combos in a very general sense because you just do your right click / left trigger mixed with your primary, and that's like her maxed out damage. I don't know, I feel like she's good for being easy to learn, but I feel like there are some things about her kit that, while she's not particularly really good, need to be changed so that you can't just get people from forever away. Alright, next up we have SpiderMan. I feel like SpiderMan has taken a hit this season. I still think he's probably towards the top of B tier. Come on. There we go. But losing that Venom team up, that hurt him. And having a lot of strategists, like the new one, Ultron, just having a bunch of ways to keep themselves alive. Like, Ultron is a great counter to Spider-Man, because while he's a 250 health flying hero, which sounds like it would be perfect Spider-Man prey, he has a bunch of stuff that gives him bonus health that make it to where, A, you either really have to try to kill him with Spider-Man, or B, hope that the opposing Ultron is stupid and does not use those abilities when being dove by you. That and his drone just applying passive healing, like slap that on another healer and suddenly that your combos are going to take a lot longer to actually kill someone. I feel like he's still good, but I feel like they have severely weakened him from Season 2. Alright, next up we have Squirrel Girl. And I feel like she is another C tier character. I feel like she is like a definition of beginner friendly. She really doesn't have to aim. And yeah, that's like Squirrel Girl's entire persona in this game. She can bounce her primary fire off walls and kill people from across the map. but I don't feel like she does enough damage to really be super good. And I'm glad she doesn't do enough damage, because that's a good balancing thing you need to keep in mind, is you don't want to make the really easy characters like Squirrel Girl, Scarlet Witch, and Rocket S tier meta characters, because then you can just have people pick up the game, learn the basics of the character, and suddenly they're a match's biggest threat. Like, that should not be how this game works. It should be higher skill characters have higher rewards. So yeah, I feel like she is not great. Alright, next up we have StarLord. And I think I'm bringing him up to S tier this season. Last season, I think I had him in A tier. But this season, he has a lot more usefulness. One, his ultimate got buffed to all heck. And he can now shoot people from 40 meters away. And he deals more damage. And he is a hit scan character, which means that he's like Hela and Punisher, to where you point and shoot, and wherever you're pointing, the bullets are going to be there immediately. This goes really well into flyers, and as you've heard a million times throughout this video, flyers are a peak meta threat during this season. So he's going to be really good. Alright, next up we have Storm. And I feel like I'm gonna put her in D tier. This may seem strange, but like, I have encountered quite a few Storms. Probably mainly because of the Jeff NATO team up. And every time I've seen a Storm, they are not doing that much damage. Like, sure, they can be a threat if you can't get them out of the sky. But if you have anyone shooting them, they cannot go fast enough to escape. They do not have any abilities that would give them more survivability. Storm just needs something, because if we look at all the other flyers, Iron Man, Armor Overdrive gives him bonus health, and he has an ability to fly fast. Human Torch can fly fast and has the Slam ability, which gives him bonus health upon landing. And Ultron has multiple abilities that give him bonus health and speed him up. Storm just doesn't have that. And honestly, I don't know how good she is, especially with a lot of hit scan characters being top tier. Speaking of top tier hit scan characters, we have the Punisher. This one was a surprise to me of just how good he ended up being in 2.5. I had not played with him much, and I was doing really good as him when I played. He now has 300 max health. He does a lot more damage, and surprise, surprise, as I've said 10 trillion times, he's good against flyers, and flyers are a main staple of 2.5. So I feel like it's good that they buffed him because of the current good heroes, but we'll see how he plays, and if they're going to nerf him after flying heroes become maybe a bit less relevant. Alright, next up we have the Thing. And I feel like he's going into A tier. because of his one purpose, which is stopping dive. He is my main go-to tank if we are having trouble with dive characters in a game. I'll go Thang, and suddenly the SpiderMan or Black Panther or Cap or Iron Fist or whoever who was terrorizing us before now gets stuck in a little circle area and cannot maneuver out of it for a moment. So I feel like that is his main purpose, and he's just a good tank even without that. So I think he deserves to go into A tier. Alright, now we have the second character that got a rework in 2.5. I feel like it's definitely not as big of a rework as we got with Jeff, and I feel like it is a good rework. So basically, now him throwing his hammer now is on its own cooldown instead of being tied to the Thor Force charges. And now, if you hit someone with the hammer, you regain 1 Thor Force, which, when this is done correctly, can basically keep him in that Rune Awakening state, as it's called, to where he's just throwing lightning around and doing a ton of damage. So I feel like the rework was good for him, but I still don't think he's very high up. I'd put him below Torch. See, his main problem is characters like Emma or the Thing can shut him down pretty easily. But the main one being Emma's grab is very effective against people like Thor and Cap. So I feel like he struggles a bit because of the characters that are good, but if they were not top tier characters, then I feel like Thor would become an actual god. Alright. Now, we got the big one of the video. What do I think of Ultron? See, Ultron is an interesting case, because everyone who played him during the early access said he was really bad. Like, extremely bad. But they gave him a few buffs before release, and after playing him for quite a bit, I've probably played him more than Cap, I would say he is actually quite good. I think he goes in the middle of B tier. His healing's not stellar, but I feel like he is still a good character. He does a lot of damage. He's good for getting other characters out of the sky, since he is the only flying character who is a hit scan, point, and suddenly your bullets appear where you're pointing. He also has a ton of range, which allows him, again, to deal with flyers pretty easily. I feel like the one bad thing is he doesn't really have any way to self-sustain or heal himself like other strategists, except for going in his own drone's radius. But I don't feel like he's bad. I feel like he's just okay, and if I had to guess, because of sort of the reaction to Ultron, he is going to be in, like, in the next patch, getting buffed at the start of Season 3. Alright, next up we have Venom. And I feel like he kind of... I feel like he stayed the same. Like, low A tier. I think I'm gonna move... Yeah, I'm gonna move Hulk down a bit. But the main thing about Venom that changed is he is now no longer in a team up with Spider-Man and Penny, and is instead in a team up with Jeff. That team up is not very good. I'm sure I'll get into it later if I do a video about the team ups in 2.5, but I just don't think the new team up really does anything for him. He gets to keep the same bonuses though that he got in the symbiote bond team up, so it's not super bad. I feel like, unlike Spider-Man, he still can dive pretty efficiently, and he got no team up removed from him that really in a harmful way. So I feel like he goes into A tier. Next up we have Bucky, and Bucky I feel like goes up into A tier. I don't think he is as super good as he was in season 1 and 1.5, but I feel like the buffs he got in the 2.1 patch really helped him out, and I feel like he's still just a good character all around. Next up, the final person on our list, we have Wolverine. And I feel like Wolverine is probably about here. I feel like he's nothing special this season, but he's not really anything super bad. I feel like he's nowhere near how dominant he felt in season 1, but he's still good enough. Alright, that is going to wrap up this almost 50-minute tier list video. Thank you all if y'all made it to this part. And my final thoughts on the season, I feel like it is the most balanced season we have had in a while. I feel like no strategy is particularly strong because all of them have great counters to them, and every counter to a strategy has good characters in it. So I feel like this is probably going to be one of my favorite seasons of Rivals. And yeah, that's what I think. I'll talk to y'all later, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your day.